How now, how? Give me a pint of sack, boy. Guards, I am not ready. No, no, no. God, God, God. My Lord, my Lord. Hello, how? What time of day is it, lad? Lad? Where is it now that I am? I have been transported from the cold streets. The screeches! Oh, God. Last night, Newgate Prison. Such horrors that I do vouchsafe never to enter their gates again. I am cold, and I do fear I hear the sound of the chimes at midnight. Ye gods, have I fallen so far? What is that noise? Ah, yes. I do recognize this place. Ah, the Boar's Head in Eastship, wherein all did happen. The young Prince Hal and future King. I never expected to again have the opportunity to avail myself to an audience again. There is life in the old dog yet. Surely here I will be afforded a fine meal and a drink. Yes. I won't need that thing. Yes. The perfect face. Yes. Oh! It's over! The stool. Yes. Yes, I remember him well. Can you see him clearly there, ladies and gentlemen? Lovely. Very special man. Special in more ways than one. Yes. Welcome! Welcome indeed, thrice welcome. 'Tis I, your very own returning hero, Sir John Falstaff, in the flesh and plenty of it. It's so fine to see so many here amongst us today. Such wonderful gentlemen who feels he has the right to rest upon my stage with me. Such pleasure. Do feel comfortable, sir, I fear. And, yes, sir, could you possibly just move one chair to the left? Only there's a light above your head and I'm getting a glare. Lovely. It's wonderful to have you all here. So, to prepare. This is very awkward. Ah! Yes, the very thing. Falstaff's book. Tonight, if perchance I might be persuaded by a coin or two or three or more in that there receptacle over there, I will entertain you with tales of myself. I, Sir John Falstaff, late of Henry, for part 1 and part 2. Tonight, the biggest character to have ever trodden the stage is here in the flesh. To avail your ears and to confound your senses with tales of my most daring deeds. Not only that, but I will also part the curtain of secrecy betwixt myself and one William Wagga-Dagga Shakespeare. Nothing. By this night shall this very night be stuffed, choice delicacies, sprinkling of hot mustard, nay, hot tongue that will of necessity bring tears to your very streaming eyes. For Jack will have his just deserts, and this night will this very night disgorge the vent-up spleen that has in this here girdle lain, unleashed, unsatisfied. To you, dear audience, I must make a humble confession. For you see, alas, you see before you that I am no actor. There, the truth is out, and I have spoken it. For to confess the truth, I am merely the builder, no, the architect, nay, the scaffolding of that towering edifice of what could have been. Those 2 great plays written by one William Shakespeare. No, to one Will Kemp, actor supreme, fell that great honour to bring my goodly girth to rampant life. For he was tasked to the bringing of my mere utterances to life. Each night, under the vast canopy of the Globe Theatre, he did perform. Ah, Master Will, I commend myself to you. Unlike that other shit from Warwickshire, one Will Wagga-Dagga, otherwise known as William Shakespeare. But to begin, as ever, at the beginning. I, Sir John Falstaff, Knight Esquire, known throughout this fair land as a man of honour, of virtue, of bravery. I could go on, but Lady Modesty doth shake her head. Will, for your delectation, this night a menu present, both for me and for you, of my words and my deeds. Tonight, I will present to you selected readings taken from the plays Henry IV, Parts 1 and Part 2. By way of introduction, let me start with a few small indulgences as I start these proceedings, well, with a few choice words written about, well, me. Men of all sorts take a pride to gird at me. The brain of this foolish compound clay man is not able to invent anything that tends to laughter, more than I invent or is invented on me. I am not only witty in myself, but the cause that wit is in other men. I do here walk like a sow that have killed all her litter bar one. fine words. But you know, Wagadaga always went that little bit too far. I asked you, how could I to a so be compared? Humour, or what passed as humour in his over-flushed head. And yet, I have to confess, in that humour, his art lies my very soul. To return to business. There live not 3 good men unhanged in England, and one of them is fat and grows old. God help the world, a bad world, I say. Is there no virtue extant? I talk me of virtue? Why then a rogue I must be. For talking so by others I am deemed a wastrel. Yet these others do their knightly virtue drape upon the tree of honour. Ah, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure for you to be here today. Is that the right way? I'm not sure. Pint of good sack, my friends. Bear with me. Yes. But you didn't pay your money to come and see me drinking, did you? Or did you? No, you didn't. Oh, well, I'll carry on then. Never ends. A plague of all cowards, still say I. If I indeed am deemed a coward, then let me to honest men's faces deny that. For none can deny that I, Sir John Falstaff, do merit valour with the very best to be had in this fair land. As sure can be, none of you will ever forget that most defining act of bravery, the great Battle of Gad's Hill. Do you remember it, my friends? So some of you do, some of you look blank. Maybe that's just a normal look for some of you. But I will help you out with the words. Imagine, if you will, the setting. A lively and rumbustious pub, full of people in good cheer. In fact, you are in that very place right now. The Boar's Head Inn. Here, to my side, is the boy Prince Hal. And over there is his beloved Poins, that cretinous, arse-licking, sycophantic, no-good, foining wimp. And all about, enraptured, are the common people, not unlike yourselves. A motley crew, unwashed, somewhat the worse for wear, maybe, I'm not sure, if truth be told. Here are my very words, as 'twere in veritas, of my part in that most defining moment of moments. Henry IV, Part 1, Act 2, Scene 2. Picture, sweet audience, my retelling of my part in that battle in front of Prince Hal himself and his attendant toad Poins. Over there, aside the open lap of a willing wench, is indeed the future King of England, in full majestic pomp. And there is Poins, the king of poison toads, a glass of flavoured water in his hands. You know the sort. To begin. I am a rogue if I were not at half-sword with a dozen of them. 2 hours together. I have escaped by miracle. I am 8 times through the doublet, 4 through the hose, my buckler cut through and through, my sword hacked like a handsaw. Ecce signem. My doublet, I told you that. I never dealt better since I was a man. All would not do. My lord, a 16 at least. All? I know not what you call all, but if I fought not with 50 of them, then I am a bunch of radish. If there were not 2 or 3 £150 upon poor old Jack, then I am no two-legged creature. Nay, nay, that's past praying, for I have peppered 2 of them. 2, I am sure, I have paid 2 rogues in buckram suits. I tell thee what, Hal, if I tell thee a lie, spit in my face and call me horse. Thou knowest my old ward. I lay there, and thus I bore my point. 4 rogues in buckram let drive at me. 4, had I told ye 4? These 4 came all affront and mainly thrust at me. I made me no more ado, but took all of their 7 points in me thus. 7 by these hills, or I am a villain else. Dost thou hear me, Hal? Do so, for it's worth the listening to. These 9 in buckram suits that I told thee of, their points now being broken, began to give ground. But I followed me close, came in foot and hand, and with a fort 7 of the 11 I paid. But as the devil would have it, 3 misbegotten knaves in Kendall Green came at my back and let drive at me. For it was so dark, Hal, that thou could not see thy hand. What? Art thou mad? Art thou mad? Is not the truth the truth? The truth was out, my friends. I had been put upon by my so-called friends, Hal and his co-conspirator Poins, in Kendall Green suits. It was they that had attacked this poor, harmless creature, and had availed themselves of their ill-gotten gains. Blood! You starveling! You elfskin! You dry-neat's tongue! You bull's pizzle! You stockfish! Oh, for breath to utter what is like thee! You tailor's yard! You sheaf! You bowcastle! You vile standing tuck! By the Lord, I knew ye as well as he that made ye. Why, hear me, my masters, was it for me to kill the heir apparent? Should I turn upon the true prince? But by the Lord, lads, I am glad that you have the money. Hostess, clap to the doors. Watch tonight, pray tomorrow. Gallants, lads, boys, hearts of gold, all titles of good fellowship come to you. What? Shall we be merry? Shall we have a play extempore? Ah, no more of that, Hal. And thou lovest me. Ah, no more of that, Hal. And thou lovest me. And thou lovest me? Would indeed that you had. For if ever the truth would be told, you never did. More's the pity. But as they say, that is life. Ever was it thus, and evermore shall it be so. And so it was. The great battle of Gad's Hill. A lesson well learned, my friends. I thank you. You may applaud if you wish. Or you can call it this. Ah, what a wonderful story, and all true, of course. Feel free to drink yourselves if you have a drink with you. If you didn't, well, you should have brought one on the way in. I'm sure the bar will be open afterwards. I'll be under it. Well, another story. Henry IV, Part 1, Act 2, Scene 4. Goodly scene, and one that Will Shakespeare and I did together by our joint sweat and late turn of mind, fashioned from out of clay itself. They were most happy days, my friends. Here I stand as Prince Hal's father, King Henry IV himself. However, I was to the manor born. I came there as a true king, a true man of most royal and noble blood, well garnered in both manners and regal disposition, and like that erstwhile pretender Bolingbroke. And here is my speech. Stand aside, nobility, weep not, sweet queen, for trickling tears are vain. For God's sake, lords, convey my tristful queen, for tears do stop the floodgates of her eyes. Peace, good pint pot. Peace, good tickle brain. Harry, I do not only marvel where thou spendest thy time, but also how thou art accompanied. That thou art my son, I have partly thy mother's word, partly my own opinion, but chiefly a villainous trick of thine eye, and a foolish hanging of the nether lip, that doth warrant me. If then thou be my son, here lies the point. Being son to me, why art thou so pointed at? Shall the blessed Son of Heaven prove a miser and eat blackberries? A question not to be asked. Shall the Son of England prove a thief and steal purses? A question to be asked. Even now, as I do speak these words, their real truth does so turn and bite at my very innards. For how there was, most surely not only a taker of other purses, but it does break my heart to say such words. So too was my lad Will Shakeshaft. For he too was a taker of other riches. He did himself most royally help himself to other writers' riches. Stole words in abundance wheresoever he could, and plagiarized. Yes, I'll say it again. Openly plagiarized that which he could not write himself. But to continue to my business. For Harry, now I do not speak to thee in drink, but in tears, not in pleasure, but in passion, not in words only, but in woes also. And yet there is a virtuous man whom I have often noted in thy company, but I know not his name. I did not know his name. What's in a name? What's in a name, I hear you say? And as you will, we're so oft wont to ask. Old Castle. There, I have said it, and long may I be damned for it. Old Castle, Sir John Oldcastle, my old lad of the castle, as Will did often reference. For in shame I was to be called Oldcastle. I was to be portrayed as that knee-bending, prayer-licking Protestant lollard a most close escape. Indeed, one necessitated by Oldcastle's living descendant, Lord Cobham, who did insist that I, Sir John Falstaff, was not worthy to be paraded as his relative. A total despair hung about the Globe Theatre that day, an air of impending doom. The show was to be cancelled henceforth under decree of the Lord Chancellor. It was then that I, Jack Falstaff, did come to the rescue. As Will lay a-tossing and a-turning, I came once more to his mind, and into his ears I did sweetly pour these words. Will, I am Sir John Falstaff, and evermore will be. Banish henceforth that Lollard Oldcastle from thy thoughts. How like a newborn baby he did kick and gurgle, unfettered, and replied, in that moment, we two became one. Two stars, their fortunes linked together for all time. Ah, a match made in heaven, a blissful, happy day. But to return once more to the king. A goodly portly man, I faith, and a corpulent of a cheerful look, a pleasing eye, and a most noble carriage. And doth I think his age some 50, or by your lady 60. And now I remember his name, Falstaff. If that man should be lewdly given, he deceiveth me. For, Harry, I see virtue in his looks. If then the tree may be known by the fruit, as the fruit is known by the tree, then peremptorily I speak it. There is virtue in that man. Him keep, with the rest banish. Thus was it written, the very words stolen from my mouth. But despite this king in waiting was to outbest his own Falstaff, leave him abandoned, cast adrift, with no more as such as a final farewell. In the course of time, I was to find out how I was to be rejected. Good health, my friend, good health, we're getting there. You're still awake, that's half the battle. I have here the very evidence of how in due time I was to be banished. Irrefutable evidence, unchallengeable evidence, unsupportable evidence, but damning evidence. And of what, nay, who do I talk about? None other than that despicable character, one Will Waggadagger Shakespeare. For he did, with not so much as a by your leave, tear my shreds of my erstwhile reputation. Poor old Jack. Poor innocent old Jack. And yet, so it did seem to me, that we two were like peas in a pod. He and I together did light all up before us, two sides of the king's coin. Witness the very first words that Will and I did together conjoin, as I did first speak them to the young prince. Indeed, you come near me now, Hal, for we that take Percy's go by the moon and the 7 stars, and not by Phoebus, he that wandering knight so fair. Marry then, sweet wag, when thou art king, let not us that are squires of the night's body be called thieves of the day's beauty. Let us be Diana's foresters, gentlemen of the shade, minions of the moon, and let men say we be men of good government, being governed as the sea is by our noble and chaste mistress, the moon, under whose countenance we steal. Will knew that we were as twins, incarnate yoked, that we of the night, sweet soothing night, do so glide unfettered and free, spirits of the wild and the most wondrous. How was it, Will, that unyoked we became not as one, but as two? But I prithee, sweet wag, shall there be gallows standing in England when thou art king, and desolation thus farmed as it is, with the rusty corb of old Father Antic the law? Do not thou, when thou art king, hang a thief. Do not thou, when thou art king, hang a thief. Thus I implored him, thus I beseeched him, I beseeched clemency, and so was I spurned. To return to the reading, Henry IV, Part 1, here I stand now not as Falstaff, but as Hal, young, vibrant, handsome, foolish, vain, noddle-headed, a verily jumped-up jack-up of his very own royal... I digress to the matter in hand. The complaints I hear of thee are grievous. There is a devil haunts thee in the likeness of an old fat man. A ton of a man is thy companion. Why dost thou converse with that trunk of humours, that bolting hutch of beastliness, that swollen parcel of dropsies, that huge bombard of sack, that stuffed cloak bag of guts, that roasted Manningtree ox with the pudding in his belly, that reverend vice, that grey iniquity, Father Ruffian, that vanity in years. Wherein is he good but to taste sack and drink it? Wherein neat and cleanly but to carve a capon and eat it? Wherein cunning but in craft? Wherein crafty but in villainy? Wherein villainous but in all things? Wherein worthy but in nothing? Such villainy, that I, Sir John Falstaff, should be thus rendered? Huge bombard of sack, that swollen parcel of dropsies, that Father Ruffian, to be known as such down through the years. Oh, that someone might yet one day render up what truly lies under this straining bulk, toss off the swollen layers, and therein find the truth that slumbers but yet a while. These slanderous defamations did not go unheeded. The hero of the Battle of Gad's Hill was not about to be unpicked by a mere mewling babe in arms. Therefore, in response to Hal's slanderous accusations, and taking the character of Hal, I did tell him to his face the undeniable truth about one good old Sir John Falstaff. That he is old, the more the pity. His white hairs do witness it, but that he is, saving your reverence, a whoremaster, that I utterly deny. If sack and sugar be a fault, God help the wicked. If to be old and merry be a sin, then many an old host that I know is condemned. If to be fat is to be hated, then Pharaoh's lean kind are to be loved. No, my good lord, banish Peto, banish Bardolph, banish Poins, but for sweet Jack Falstaff, kind Jack Falstaff, and therefore more valiant being as he is old Jack Falstaff, banish not him thy Harry's company. Banish not him thy Harry's company. Banish plump Jack, and banish all the well. His response? I do, I will. And so he would. And so he did. It was never meant to be. Will Wagadag and I did converse on this matter. I said, Will, my boy, when thou do write the second part of Henry IV, how will it so manifest? No doubt I will be just like Hal, newly repentant and ready to assume the powers invested in me, so that all will double marvel at this most wondrous transformation. His response assured me, and so we set upon our next great adventure together, Henry IV, Part 2. I was fully convinced of the immortality that would stretch evermore before me. Alas, it was not to be so. And so to the conclusion of that very play. Back to London. Hal's coronation, the adoring crowds thronging the streets. This was to be my crowning moment. My Prince Hal, the newly crowned King Henry V. Together we would bring prosperity and commonwealth to all and sundry. God save thy grace, King Hal, my royal Hal. God save thee, my sweet boy, my king, my Jove. I speak to thee, my heart. All about, their eyes were fixed to my resplendent figure on my knees before the paraded new king. The king duly stopped his carriage and then stood there, his eyes fixed fast and resolute. I know not thee, old man. Fall to thy prayers. How will white hairs become a fool's jester? I have long dreamed of such a kind of man, so surfeit-swelled, so old and so profane. But being awaked, I do despise my dream. Make less thy body hence, and more thy grace. Leave gordamanizing. Know the grave dove gate for thee thrice wider than for other men. Reply not to me with a forborn jest. When thou dost hear that I am as I have been, approach me, and thou shalt be as thou was, the tutor and feeder of my riots. Till then, I banish thee on pain of death, as I have done the rest of my misleaders, not to come near our person by 10 miles. Sit on! My lord! My lord! those were the last words I ever spoke. The last words Will Shakespeare wrote for me. My lord, my lord. For you promised me, Will, promised me full faithfully, we two were to continue our japes afoot in that play you were about to write, Henry V. And you did promise such, Will, in that very closing speech of Henry IV, Part 2. One word more I beseech you, if you be not too much cloyed with fat meat. Our humble author will continue the story with Sir John in it. His very words on the matter. Our humble author will continue the story with Sir John in it. Quod erat demonstradum. I spoke about it to Will. He was of full-hearted intention that he would indeed include me in that story. But when I pressed him further, his lips tightened and he would not be pushed. Instead, it was me that was hijacked. I was paraded, no, parodied in that god-awful writing, The Merry Wives of Windsor. And so, my friends, to the end of my story, for I did never speak another word. I was to hear, to my horror, of my reported demise in that aforementioned play, Henry V, Act 2, Scene 3. Dearest Mistress Quickly. Bardolph, be blithe. Nym, rouse thy vointing veins. Boys, bristle thy courage up. For Falstaff, he is dead, and we must yearn therefore. Nay, sure, he's not in hell, he's in Arthur's bosom. If ever a man went to Arthur's bosom and made a finer end and went away and it had been any Christian child. He parted, even just between 12 and 1, even at the turning of the tide. For after I saw him fumble with the sheets and play with flowers and smile upon his fingers' ends, I knew there was but one way. For his nose was as sharp as a pen, and he babbled of green fields. How now, Sir John, quoth I, what man, be of good cheer? So he cried out, God, 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 3 or 4 times. Now I to comfort him, bid him he should not think of God. I hoped there was no need to trouble himself with anything like that yet. So he bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand under the blankets, and his feet were as cold as any stone. I moved up to his knees, and they were as cold as any stone. Upward and upward, and all was as cold as any stone. And so it was how I, Sir John Falstaff, was finally laid to rest, away from this grievous cold world. For in truth I would have it known, I did die of a pining. My broken heart would not be mended. For we that take purses go by the moon and the 7 stars, and not by Phoebus, he that wandering night so fair. Let not us that are squires of the night's body be called thieves of the day's beauty. Let us be Diana's foresters, gentlemen of the shade, minions of the moon. And let men say we be men of good government, being governed as is the sea by our noble and chaste mistress, the moon. I am cold now, and now I do hear the calling of the chimes at midnight. Gone is feeling. Gone is life. Gone is all unrest. There is a moon out there shining bright. To her fair hands ever thus am I drawn, leaving the dimming of deceitful daylight, that once more afresh we shall be reborn. The wheels in time they do turn round and round, they slowly go. Let me go, let me go. The wheels in time they do turn round and round.